Eyewitnesses. How does our brain process information we see? What is memory? How does memory work? Is our brain like a video recorder? If you observed an event, could you remember everything that happened? Why or why not? We've all had the experience of greeting someone we recognize, only to realize that we were wrong, that the person is actually a stranger. Similar mistakes can be made when crimes are observed. To process information about a crime, we must first perceive a stimulus and then retain it in our minds at least momentarily. But failures and errors can emerge along the way. You may have counted 15 passes, but did you see the gorilla? Why or why not? What limits our ability to recall events accurately? In the Invisible Gorilla movie, our attention was focused on counting passes, and you may have missed seeing the gorilla. Our mind may not remember all that happens in an event because our brain is engaged in another way. So how well did you do? This phenomena is called inattentional blindness. Your mind perceives what's happening, but you do not attend to it. In other words, there's nothing wrong with your eyes, but for some reason this information is more subconscious than conscious. People fail to see the gorilla in the invisible gorilla test due to inattentional blindness, which is a phenomenon where the brain, focusing intently on a demanding task, like counting the basketball passes, blocks out unexpected and irrelevant stimuli. This demonstrates that attention is a limited resource, causing people to miss obvious, unexpected events. Now, there are 4 key reasons for missing the gorilla. 1 is selective attention. When concentrating on a specific task, the brain filters out visual information not deemed relevant to the task. Number 2, inattentional blindness. This is the cognitive inability to notice an unexpected object when attention is directed elsewhere. Number 3, unusualness of the event. Because the gorilla is not expected in the context of a passing game, the mind fails to process it, even if it passes directly through the focus zone. And number 4, cognitive load. The difficulty of the task, counting rather than just watching, increases the likelihood of missing the stimulus. But don't worry, roughly 50% of the people typically miss the gorilla because their focus is fully engaged. Eyewitness accounts are often considered vital in the investigation of crimes, yet the reliability of such testimony is frequently called into question. The way we perceive and remember actions during traumatic or high-stress events is influenced by psychological phenomena that shape what details we notice and retain. Factors like adrenaline, weapon presence, and cognitive schemas can distort or even erase crucial aspects of our recollection. This introduction explores the complexities behind how we process and remember events, highlighting the challenges faced by investigators who rely on eyewitness evidence. Action details. When we witness a crime, we absorb the information by the actions that happened during the commission of the crime. For example, a man pointing a gun at a woman pushed her into his van and sped away. The central information, what we're focused on, and the peripheral information, what's happening around us, often becomes skewed with the surge of adrenaline through our system. Such findings suggest that when we witness a traumatic event, our attention is drawn to the central action at the expense of the descriptive details. Yet in other circumstances such as nonviolent events, our attention may be spread more evenly between the two, which brings us back to inattentional blindness. This phenomenon occurs when our attention is drawn toward only one aspect of our surroundings, resulting in us not noticing other things. Weapon focus. The use of weapons complicate matters even more. When a gunman brandishes his firearm, we tend to focus on the pistol at the expense of other details, including hair or eye color, even build and dress. Immediately following the event, eyewitness testimony is often impaired. Researchers have tested this theory as well. Participants were shown videos of robberies. Robbery involves a weapon and a victim. Burglary does not. where one group saw the robber with the pistol concealed and one group saw the robber with the gun in plain sight. When asked to identify the robber in a lineup, only 46% of the participants who watched the video where the gun was concealed answered correctly. From those who watched the video where the robber brandished the weapon, only 26% could identify him. Schemas. In order for an eyewitness to be able to answer a question, they must be willing to respond. And it's this willingness that can impair the memory of the events. Not everything we see or experience is stored in our minds. Our brains don't work like computers where each bit is encoded. Rather, we make connections to other things in order to process information. Episodic memories, memories involving an event, are organized in our minds as event schemas, and this allows us to store knowledge, events, and activities by connecting to what we classify as normal. In other words, rather than remembering every time we dined at our favorite seafood joint, we tend to build a general impression of seafood restaurants, the smell, the atmosphere, and so on. However, the use of schemas can distort memories. The perfect example of this is when someone asks me about my childhood, then asks my brother. From our answers, you wouldn't think we grew up under the same roof. Many factors contribute to how we remember times and events such as influence. When there are gaps in our memory, we tend to incorporate new information in an attempt to fill in the blanks. The question for the end of this discussion was how I used AI to create my Eyewitnesses PowerPoint. Number one, the topic selection and structure. I started by choosing the topic of eyewitnesses' memory and perception inspired by psychological phenomenon like inattentional blindness and the reliability of eyewitness accounts. AI helped me outline the presentation by suggesting key sections, introduction, examples, psychological concepts, and practical implications for law enforcement and jurors. 2, content generation. Using AI, I generated concise explanations for complex concepts. For example, the slides on the intentional blindness and selective attention were created with AI assistance to ensure clarity and accuracy. The AI provided definitions, real-world examples like the invisible gorilla experiment, and explanations of why people miss obvious details when focused on a task. Number 3, visuals and engagement. AI suggested relevant images and interactive elements, such as the video counting basketball passes and the gorilla experiment. These visuals were chosen to make abstract concepts more tangible and memorable for you. AI also recommended prompts and questions to encourage audience participation, like asking viewers if they saw the gorilla. And number 4, scientific accuracy and examples. To ensure the presentation was scientifically accurate, I used AI to summarize research findings, such as the impact of weapon focus and schemas on eyewitness reliability. AI provided statistics and study results like the percentage of people who miss the gorilla or the reduced accuracy in identifying a robber when a weapon is present. And number 5, customization and accessibility. AI made it easy to customize the presentation for different audiences. For example, it suggested ways to adapt color schemes and classroom procedures, ensuring the slides were visually accessible and aligned with my teaching style. Number 6, editing and polishing. Finally, AI assisted with the editing for clarity, coherence, and flow. It helped refine the language, check for consistency, and ensure each slide built logically on the previous one. The result is a polished, engaging, and informative presentation that's easy to follow and visually appealing. So AI was really instrumental in every step, from brainstorming and structuring the content to generating clear explanations, selecting visuals, ensuring scientific accuracy, and customizing the presentation for my classroom. This allowed me to focus on teaching, confident that the material was both engaging and reliable. I've added other studies if you'd like more information on eyewitness testimony and memory. And to find these videos, I asked Copilot to read my presentation and suggest more videos. If you have any questions, please let me know.